The transport shuttle's doors hissed open with a soft mechanical sigh. Una stepped onto the polished metallic floors of Galactic Academy Station Prometheus 7, her heart beating faster than she wanted to admit. In her arms, she carried a small black container with breathing holes carefully drilled into the sides. Inside was her companion, quiet and patient as always. She had dreamed of this moment for years. Earth's first cadet at the most prestigious military academy in the galaxy. But now that she was here, surrounded by aliens of every shape and size, doubt crept into her mind like cold water. The orientation hall stretched before her, like a massive cathedral of steel and light. Cadets from dozens of species moved through the space with purpose and pride. Their warbeasts walked beside them in disciplined formation, and Una could not help but stare. A Craxian student passed close by, nearly bumping her shoulder. His scaled warhound was the size of a small Earth vehicle, its armor hide gleaming under the bright station lights. The creature's eyes glowed red, and steam hissed from its nostrils with each breath. Its claws clicked against the floor like hammers on anvils. The Craxian student barely glanced at Una as he walked past, his hand resting casually on his beast's massive head. To her left, a Velothian cadet commanded a serpent that seemed to be made of living crystal. The creature's body sparkled with inner light, and crackling energy danced along its scales. Una felt a pressure against her mind, the serpent's telepathic presence brushing against her thoughts like invisible fingers. She shivered and looked away. Everywhere she turned, there were more incredible beasts. A Gorvash cadet led a creature that looked like a bear crossed with a tank, covered in natural armor plates. Another student walked with a bird that left frost in the air with each beat of its wings. A third had something that resembled a wolf, but with 6 legs and eyes that burned like small suns. Una's fingers tightened on the carrier handle. Inside, she heard a soft sound, a quiet meow that only she could hear. "It will be okay, Koma," she whispered in Korean, her native language feeling like a warm blanket in this strange place. "We will show them." But even as she said it, she wondered if it was true. The other cadets towered over her. Some were 3 meters tall. Others had natural weapons, claws, fangs, armor, venom. Their war beasts were monsters from nightmares, bred and trained for centuries to be perfect killing machines. And she had brought a cat. A small voice in her head, the voice that sounded like her doubting father, asked a question she'd been avoiding. What was she thinking? "Attention, newcomers!" A voice boomed across the hall like thunder, silencing all conversation. Every cadet turned toward the raised platform at the front of the room. Commander Rexval stood there, and Una's breath caught. He was Craxian, like the student with the warhound, but much larger. His reptilian body was covered in scales that looked like they could turn bullets. His yellow eyes swept across the crowd with the cold calculation of a predator. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of authority that came from decades of command. "You stand in the galaxy's premier military academy," Rexval declared. His tail swished behind him, thick as a tree trunk. "Each of you has bonded with your species' finest combat companion. You have trained together. You have bled together. Today, you will register them officially." He gestured toward a registration desk that had appeared on a platform beside him. Advanced scanners and equipment surrounded it, humming with power. One by one, you will present your companion. The scanners will record their capabilities, classify their threat level, and assign you to appropriate training squads. His eyes narrowed. This is not a formality. This is your first test. How you have chosen and bonded with your beast shows us what kind of warrior you are. A line formed quickly. Una found herself near the back, which gave her time to watch and learn. The first cadet approached, the Gorvash she had seen earlier. He was massive, with brown fur and small round ears. When he placed his hand on his beast head, both of them seemed to grow larger with pride. "Tark of Gorvash," he announced in a deep voice. "Presenting my razorback boar." The creature beside him snorted, and Una saw why it was called a razorback. Sharp blade-like spines ran along its spine, each one looking capable of cutting through steel. Its tusks gleamed like polished swords. The scanner hummed and beeped. "Razorback boar, Class A predator registered," the automated voice announced. Applause rippled through the crowd. Targ grinned. showing his own impressive fangs. More cadets followed. Each one presented increasingly impressive companions. The training arena hummed with energy that made the air itself vibrate. Una could feel it in her teeth, a low frequency that seemed to match the nervous beating of her heart. Cadets assembled in neat rows with their companions beside them, each beast standing at attention in their own way. Some sat, some stood on multiple legs. Others coiled or perched, but all were focused and ready. Commander Rexval stood at the center of the arena, like a statue carved from stone and scales. His arms were crossed over his massive chest, and his yellow eyes moved across the gathered students with the patience of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. "The bonding trials," he began, his voice carrying easily across the space without any need for amplification. "Test your synchronization with your companion. This is not about raw power alone. Any fool can breed a strong beast. What matters is the bond between warrior and animal, the understanding, the trust." He gestured toward the arena floor, and suddenly obstacles rose from hidden panels. Walls appeared, platforms lifted into the air. Combat drones emerged from charging stations, their sensors glowing red and ready. Your beast must navigate obstacles, defeat combat drones, and demonstrate tactical ability. Rexval continued. "You may give commands, but remember, the best teams move as one mind. Begin with Tarek of Gorvash." The bear-like prince stepped forward with confidence that bordered on arrogance. His razorback boar snorted beside him, pawing the ground with hooves that left scratches in the reinforced metal floor. "Show them, Crusher," Tarek said simply. What happened next was brutal and efficient. The boar charged forward like a living battering ram. The first obstacle, a 3-meter wall, might as well have been paper. Crusher smashed through it, his armor head taking the impact without even slowing down. Chunks of synthetic material flew in all directions. The combat drones activated, rising into the air on small anti-gravity engines. They were designed to be difficult targets, fast and maneuverable. But Crusher was faster than his size suggested. He pivoted with surprising grace and launched himself upward, his tusks catching a drone mid-flight. The machine exploded in a shower of sparks. Another drone fired an energy blast. Crusher's razor-sharp spine stood up along his back, and he spun. The spines deflected the blast like a shield. Then one detached and flew through the air like a thrown knife. It struck the drone perfectly, piercing its core. The drone fell, smoking and dead. The crowd erupted in cheers. Other Gorvash students roared their approval, stomping their feet in a rhythm that shook the viewing stands. Tarek raised his arms in victory, while Crusher destroyed the remaining drones with methodical precision. When the last machine fell, the timer showed an impressive score. "Excellent synchronization," Rexval announced, making a note on his digital tablet. "Class A performance." Next, Sarah Velith. The insectoid girl stepped forward with her crystal serpent coiled around her shoulders. Where Tarek had been loud and aggressive, Sarah was quiet and focused. Her compound eyes reflected the arena lights like tiny rainbow mirrors. She did not speak. She did not need to. The serpent uncoiled and flowed down her arm like liquid light, hitting the ground without a sound. The course reset. New obstacles appeared, different from before. This time there were narrow passages, platforms that required precision jumping, and drones that moved in coordinated attack patterns. Sarah's serpent moved like water flowing downhill, finding the path of least resistance through every obstacle. It slithered up walls that should have been impossible to climb. It leaped from platform to platform with distances that seemed too far, but somehow the crystalline creature made each jump look effortless. When the drones attacked, the serpent did not fight them with brute force. Instead, its body began to glow brighter. Una watched in amazement as the serpent's telepathic abilities became visible, waves of mental energy that pulsed from its body like ripples in a pond. The drone's sensors went haywire. They began firing at each other, confused about which target was real and which was a telepathic illusion. Within seconds, the machines had destroyed themselves, while Sarah's serpent watched calmly from a high platform. The crowd applauded, though the appreciation was different from before. This was not the wild cheering for brutal strength, but respectful recognition of perfect technique. Flawless tactical demonstration, Rex Val said with what might have been approval in his voice. Class A performance. Next, Universe Squad Epsilon. The applause died instantly. Whispers replaced it, spreading through the crowd like wind through grass. Una felt every eye turned toward her. She walked to the starting position, her legs feeling like they belonged to someone else. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the carrier. Coma emerged, stretching in that boneless way that cats do. His black fur absorbed the arena lights, making him look like a hole in reality. His bright green eyes surveyed the arena with calm interest. Una set him down at the starting line. "Okay, Coma," she whispered in Korean. "Please, just show them something." The obstacles deployed. Walls rose. Platforms lifted. Combat drones activated with their red sensors, glowing menacingly. Coma sat down immediately, his tail curled neatly around his paws. Then, with complete indifference to the challenge before him, he began licking his shoulder with long, careful strokes. Someone laughed. Then another. Soon the entire arena echoed with laughter. The biodome stretched before them like a real world under glass. Trees rose toward the curved ceiling high above, their leaves creating a canopy that filtered the artificial sunlight into dancing shadows. The air was thick and humid, filled with the sounds of creatures that had been imported from a dozen different planets. This was meant to simulate a true death world, a place where only the strongest survived. Commander Rex Val stood at the entrance, his voice carrying across the assembled cadets one final time before they entered. "The deep hunt begins now," he announced. "Track and eliminate prey beasts. You will be scored on speed, efficiency, and difficulty of targets. There are creatures in there from Class F up to Class B. Choose your prey wisely." He paused, and a dangerous smile crossed his reptilian face. "Bonus points to the apex target, a simulated void render. It is not real, but the simulation will test even the strongest among you." Murmurs ran through the crowd. The void render was legendary, a creature from Gorvash folklore said be unkillable. Even a simulation would be incredibly dangerous. "You have 6 hours. Begin." The cadets dispersed into the artificial jungle, like water flowing into cracks. Each team headed toward different zones based on their skill level and ambition. Targ gathered his team around him, his chest puffed with pride. His razorback boar, Crusher, stood beside him looking eager for violence. "We are taking down the render," Targ declared, grinning at his teammates. "Glory to Gorvash. Today we make history." His team cheered and followed him toward the deepest part of the biodome, where the most dangerous simulation waited. Other teams scattered to different areas. Sarah and her crystal serpent headed toward the medium difficulty zone, moving with quiet confidence. Groups of cadets formed hunting parties, their Warbeasts already sniffing the air for prey. Una's squad, Squad Epsilon, the lowest ranked, headed toward the beginner zone as assigned. There would be no glory there, only basic prey animals meant for practice. The other 3 members of her squad did not even look at her. They had already decided she was dead weight. "Stay out of our way, human," one of them muttered as they entered the jungle. "Try not to get your pet killed." Una said nothing. She walked into the undergrowth with Coma trotting beside her, his black tail held high. The moment the dense vegetation surrounded them, something changed in her cat. His casual, lazy demeanor vanished. His ears swiveled forward, alert. His pupils dilated wide, drinking in every shadow. Then, within minutes, he vanished. One moment Coma was beside her. The next, he was simply gone. No sound, no movement in the bushes. He had disappeared like smoke and wind. "Coma?" Una whispered, looking around frantically. "Coma, come back." Nothing. Her squad mates had already moved ahead, not noticing or caring that she had stopped. Una was alone in the artificial jungle with no companion and no weapon. Her heart began to race. Then she remembered the neural link. Every cadet had one installed, a small chip that connected them to their companions' basic senses. It was meant to help with coordination during combat. Una closed her eyes and focused on the connection. At first, there was nothing. Then, like tuning into a radio signal, she felt him. Coma was moving fast, very fast, through the jungle. She could sense his excitement, his focus, and something else, joy. Pure, predatory joy. She followed the signal, pushing through vines and stepping over roots. What she found made her stop and stare. Claw marks, deep gouges in tree bark, 10 feet up the trunk. No, 12 feet. Coma could jump high, but not that high. Could he? She kept following the trail, and the signs became stranger. A prey beast lay on the ground, a rabbit-like creature from some distant world. It was not dead, but it was not moving either. Paralyzed. Una knelt beside it and found 2 tiny puncture wounds at the base of its skull. Precise. Surgical. The creature's eyes were wide with terror, but it could not even twitch. Further ahead, she found another creature, then another, each one paralyzed with the same precise bite. Each one left alive but helpless. He was toying with them. The neural link pulled her forward, and she began to run. Through the connection, she felt Coma's satisfaction. He had found something interesting, something worth his full attention. She burst into a small clearing and froze. Coma sat on a fallen log, his tail swishing lazily. In front of him was a mid-tier predator, something that looked like a panther crossed with a lizard. It was easily 50 kilograms, with claws and fangs designed for killing. But it was not attacking. It was cowering. Coma batted at it with one paw, claws retracted, like he was playing with a toy. The predator flinched and whimpered. It tried to back away, but Coma moved faster, not attacking, just repositioning, keeping the creature exactly where he wanted it. The truth crashed into Una like a physical blow. Coma was not hunting for food. He was not hunting for the trial. He was hunting because it was fun. Suddenly, a sound ripped through the jungle. An emergency beacon, its shrill alarm cutting to the biodome's ambient noise. Then another, and another. A voice crackled over the comms, desperate and terrified. It was Tarek. Code black. Void renders real. Repeat, not a simulation. It is real, and it is killing US. Help. Someone help. The sound of screaming followed, then the roar of something that should not exist. Coma's head snapped toward the sound. His pupils went completely black. Every muscle in his small body tensed. Una looked at her cat, then toward where the screams were coming from. She made her decision in a heartbeat. Go, she said. Coma was already moving. He streaked through the jungle like a black arrow, and Una ran after him with everything she had. Una burst into a clearing, and immediately wished she had not. The scene before her was something from a nightmare painted in blood and broken bodies. Tarek's razorback boar, the mighty crusher who had demolished the training course so easily, lay on its side. The creature's chest rose and fell in shallow, desperate breaths. Its armored hide, which had seemed invincible, was torn open like paper. Deep gashes revealed muscle and bone beneath. Blood pooled around it in a spreading dark circle. 2 cadets lay motionless on the ground. Una could not tell if they were breathing. She did not want to look close enough to find out. Other students were scattered around the clearing, bleeding and screaming. One Velothian cadet clutched an arm that bent in a direction arms should not bend. Another tried to crawl away, leaving a trail of green blood behind. Targ himself sat against a tree, his face pale under his brown fur. His arm hung at an odd angle, clearly broken. His eyes were wide with shock and pain. Then the void render emerged from the tree line, and Una understood true fear. It was massive, 3 tons at least, perhaps more. Its body was covered in bio-armor that looked like it had grown from the creature's own flesh. Black plates that overlapped like scales but seemed harder than any metal. The armor had a strange quality, as if it was not quite solid, shifting between states of matter that should not exist together. But worse than its appearance was its presence. The air around it warped and twisted. Reality itself seemed to bend near the creature, making it hard to focus on. Looking at it directly made Una's eyes water and her head ache. Equipment displays on nearby trees flickered and died. The biodome's artificial sunlight dimmed in a circle around the beast. It moved forward on 6 legs, each step deliberate and unhurried. It knew it had won. It was simply deciding which prey to kill next. Commander Rexval arrived with security team, their boots thundering through the jungle. They carried military-grade weapons, the kind designed to stop rampaging warbeasts. energy rifles powered up with a high-pitched whine. "Fall back," Rexval ordered, his voice still commanding despite the horror before him. "Get the wounded and fall back now." The security team opened fire. Energy beams lanced through the air toward the void render. Enough firepower to punch through a reinforced bunker. The beams reached the creature's reality-distorting field and simply stopped existing. They did not bounce off. They did not explode. They ceased to be, as if they had never been fired at all. One security officer tried a projectile weapon. The bullets warped mid-flight, curving away like they were following invisible paths through twisted space. One bullet curved completely around and nearly hit the officer who fired it. "Weapons are useless," someone shouted. "Nothing works near it." The void render's head swiveled toward the security team. It was an almost casual movement, the way a person might glance at a fly, buzzing nearby. Its eyes, if they could be called eyes, were dark voids that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. It opened its mouth, and Una saw rows of teeth that looked wrong, like they existed in more dimensions than should be possible. It roared. The sound was not just noise. It was pressure and force, and something that attacked the mind itself. Equipment displays did not just flicker. They shattered, screens exploding into fragments. Trees nearby cracked and split. One cadet's helmet broke apart, pieces falling around his head as he screamed and clutched his ears. Una felt the roar in her bones, in her teeth, in the base of her skull. It was a sound that told every primitive part of her brain to run, to hide, to do anything except stay here. Tarek, still sitting against a tree with his broken arm, looked at her. For a moment their eyes met. The arrogant prince who had mocked her, and her cat was gone. In his place was a broken young man who had seen his mighty Warbeast destroyed and his teammates killed. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Only pain and madness and bitter acceptance of death. "Run, human," he said, his voice cracked and weak. "Run fast. Your little pet cannot save you. Nothing can save any of us now." The void render took another step forward. The ground beneath its feet cracked and buckled from the weight and the reality distortion. It was selecting its next victim, taking its time because nothing here could stop it. Then Koma walked into the clearing. The small black cat stepped delicately over a piece of broken equipment. His paws made no sound on the blood-soaked ground. His tail was held high, relaxed and confident. He looked like he was taking an evening stroll through a garden, not entering a killing field. He walked directly toward the void render, without hesitation, without fear, without any acknowledgement that he was a 4-kilogram cat approaching a 3-ton reality-warping monster. The void render noticed him. Its head tilted slightly, almost curious. Here was a morsel, a tiny snack barely worth the effort. The creature's massive claw rose, moving with deceptive speed despite its size. It struck down toward Koma like a hammer from heaven, claws extended, ready to crush the small cat into paste. Koma was not there. He had not run. He had not jumped. He had simply moved, and the claws struck empty ground with a force that cratered the earth. The void render's void-like eyes focused fully on the cat now. Something that might have been confusion crossed its alien features. The footage played on every screen across the galaxy. News networks from 1,000 worlds showed the same clip over and over. A small black cat, barely 4 kilograms, facing down a void render. What happened next was shown in slow motion, because at regular speed, it was almost impossible to see. 47 seconds. That was all it took. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the impossible unfolded. The cat moved like liquid shadow, like death-given form. Every movement was precise, calculated, perfect. The void render's bioarmor meant nothing. Koma found gaps that should not have existed, weak points that the creature's own biology had hidden even from itself. He climbed the monster's body like it was a tree, claws sinking deep into flesh between armor plates. The creature's reality-distorting field that had stopped bullets and energy beams did nothing to stop 4 sets of razor-sharp claws. Acid blood sprayed from wounds, but Koma twisted midair with impossible grace, letting the caustic liquid pass beneath him. The void render tried to shake him off, but Koma was already moving to a new position. He was on its back, then its neck, then underneath, then back on top. He was everywhere and nowhere, a phantom that struck and vanished before the creature could respond. In the final moments, Koma's jaws locked onto the void render's throat. His back claws raked, disemboweling with surgical precision. The 3-ton nightmare fell, its void-like eyes dimming as life fled. Koma sat beside the corpse, calmly licking blood from his paws. Purring. The video ended, but it would replay forever in the minds of everyone who watched it. Within hours, xenobiologists descended on the academy like a swarm. Scientists from every major species came to study the small Earth cat that had done the impossible. They brought scanners, took samples, ran tests. Koma tolerated it all with the patient indifference of a creature that knew it had nothing to prove. Their reports spread like wildfire across the galactic network. Earth felines were revealed to be pound-for-pound perfect predators. Retractable claws that stayed sharp because they were protected when not in use. Night vision that could see in near-total darkness. An elastic spine that allowed them to twist their bodies in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. Precision kill instincts honed over millions of years of evolution. But the most shocking revelation was this. They were small not from weakness, but because size was unnecessary. They had evolved to be efficient killers, and efficiency meant not wasting energy on bulk they did not need. Every gram of their body was optimized for hunting. One xenobiologist report went viral. Earth felines are apex hunters who have chosen companionship over carnage. They possess the tools to kill creatures many times their size, but they choose to live with humans instead. This is not domestication in the traditional sense. This is a partnership that the cats themselves agreed to. The implications were staggering. Commander Rexval found Yuna 3 days later in the observation deck. She sat in a chair overlooking the stars, Koma asleep in her lap. The cat's chest rose and fell with gentle breaths, peaceful and content. Rexval approached slowly, his clawed feet clicking on the metal floor. He had rehearsed what he wanted to say, but now that he was here, the words felt inadequate. "Cadet Yuna," he said quietly. She looked up, her dark eyes meeting his yellow ones. She did not stand or salute. Koma was sleeping, and she would not disturb him for anything. Rexval nodded, understanding and respecting that choice in a way he would not have a week ago. "We mocked your world's predators," he said, and his voice carried shame that did not come easily to a Craxian warrior. "We laughed at your small cat. We called Earth a soft world. We were fools." He paused, struggling with words that did not fit comfortably in his mouth. "We should have asked a different question. We should have asked, what kind of species domesticates such creatures?" Yuna's hand continued stroking Koma's fur, the repetitive motion soothing to both of them. "We did not domesticate them," she said softly. "They chose us. There is a difference." Before Rexval could respond, another figure approached. Tark limped toward them, his arm in a regeneration cast. The proud Gorvash prince looked smaller somehow, diminished. His encounter with the void render had taken more than just his physical health. He stopped a respectful distance away, his eyes fixed on the floor. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "I apologize," he said, and each word seemed to cost him something. "My arrogance nearly killed us all. I mocked you and your companion. I called you weak. I was wrong about everything." He finally looked up, meeting Yuna's eyes. "Crusher is dead. My Warbeast, my friend since childhood, died because I was too proud to retreat when we found the render. I led my team to their deaths because I wanted glory." His voice cracked. "2 of my friends are not coming home because of me." Yuna said nothing for a long moment. Koma stirred in her lap, opening one green eye to look at Tarek, then closing again and going back to sleep. Even now, the cat seemed utterly unconcerned with the emotional drama of the larger creatures around him. "Your Warbeast fought bravely," Yuna finally said. "Honor his memory by learning from this." Tarek nodded, unable to speak further. He limped away, carrying his shame and grief with him. Sarah approached later, her crystal serpent coiled around her shoulders. The Velothian cadet tilted her head, her compound eyes reflecting the starlight outside the observation deck. "A question," Sarah said in her clicking voice. "If this small predator is what humans keep in their homes as pets, as companions for children and elderly, What does that make humans themselves? Una smiled, a small, gentle expression that held secrets the galaxy was only beginning to understand. She looked down at Koma, sleeping peacefully in her lap, this perfect killing machine who had chosen to be a pet. We are the species, she said quietly, that apex predators chose to love.